CF cards do that. But then if you want to add compression, it gets really hairy to do that because you start with fixed size blocks, you end up with variable size blocks, and the remapping strategy gets kind of hairy. And there's a patent that covers it, so we can't really do it. But Axis and David Woodhouse at Red Hat did something called journaling flash file system. Exposed that characteristics of the flash chips directly to the file system and let it do the whole thing. So it's doing, in version 1, you just treat all the flash as a big long journal and you write all your files out and then you garbage collect from this end. And you hope that the stuff you're writing doesn't ever catch up to where you're cleaning. But because it was totally sequential like that, it was actually very difficult for the, you'd have to move things a lot to keep ahead of the garbage. Journaling flash file system 2 sort of breaks that up. So it keeps track of which blocks are full of good data, which blocks have some superseded data in them. So as you rewrite a block, then you mark it as superseded. I guess the one other little tidbit about flash that makes this work is you can continue to write zeros, but to get ones you have to erase. And so you can do, as long as you set up your flags and the headers of things right, so you erase it and you mark a bit to say, oh, this is in use and it's good, and you zero out another bit to say, oh, this has been superseded. So it has some characteristics that let you do something like this, but it has some other characteristics that mean you can't just use EXT3 or something like that. Right, that's the question. Since it's doing just a journaling, it doesn't have to match up to disk block sizes or anything. It can, if it's 3 bytes, well, it's probably not 3 bytes. But whatever arbitrary size the block ends up being, you just sort of stack that on front of the journal and move the way through. I can give somebody a reference if they want more details on that. But it's kind of interesting. And then, of course, down again, JFS2 is journaling, but it really wants to talk to flash. And if you have removable media like SAM card, the microdrive, the MMC card, SD card, then you want something like EXT3, which is the journaling file system we all need to know recently, or Riser. They're actually hybrid. They have a journal, which is the stuff you're writing out as the operations happen, and then they have the actual file system, which is the current snapshot. And at some point, maybe with large NAND flash, JFS2 might have to get into this hybrid scheme because reconstructing from the journal can take time. But so far, it's not been a problem. I don't know if you really know. But I guess so, we come out of the reset, CP comes out of reset, starts executing our code instantly. And then, of course, you'll say, well, what kind of model is it? And so it's kind of back in the ISO world. There's putting an identification ROM on there would cost money, and so there isn't one. So our code comes out and we go, oh, is it a 3100, 3600, 3800? The xScale ones are a different code, so they only have 2 choices of that. And then, because then depending on if you want to look at the button to see if you should do something special. But first you have to see what kind it is before you can find out the stuff. Because the other interesting thing about all this hardware is it's all directly connected to the CPU. The SA1110 in the first 4 iPaqs has 32 GPIOs. And in every iPaq, the things are, you've got 1 GPIO to turn on audio, 1 for the button, a button. And they're all in different combinations of different models as, whatever hardware designer goes up right on. And on the 3900, the 5400, that's the xScale TX850, there's 80 GPIOs. And so there's all these different combinations. And so that's why when somebody says, oh, I've got this handheld that's got a strong ARM SA1110 in it, can I run the kernel on it? And you have to say, no, because you have to know exactly how all these pins are connected, or else you can't turn on the peripherals. You can't talk to the peripherals. And so that's where you have to really know the details of how stuff's connected on the design to do a Linux port to it. And that's why, the iPaq has Linux on it because we worked at Compaq and then at HP and we had access to that information. There's a guy at Dell who might have access to that information. There's some other interesting handhelds out there, but nobody in the companies is willing to give the information out, and so there's no Linux port for that, and not much DB one. And then if there's ASICs and stuff on it, that gets more hairy. But the first thing is just knowing how the CPU is connected to stuff. And they'll be like, well, it's a derivative of the reference design. Wow. It really gets down to all the details. All the details matter. I don't know. This is probably what we should do. Unless you don't see it. I guess another interesting aspect of handhelds is that because, well, DRAM is a lot cheaper than flash per bit, and so there'll be more DRAM than flash typically, and so we use that for file system instead of just for memory for running applications, and so that's an interesting thing, and so you can. The difference between Pocket PC and Linux is that Pocket PC actually, the way it started was all the user data was in DRAM. The battery died and the user data was done. We started off with all user data in flash, and additional non-volatile stuff was in DRAM. Sometimes you grow beyond what your flash can hold. You want to put it in DRAM, and you want to preserve it across resets, across reboots. We had this great cultural difference. Pocket PC, the non-maskable on the CPU is a soft reset. Even though it's doing a full reset of the CPU, it's not clearing DRAM, so we have a block driver that this guy Uriz wrote that lets you take a chunk of DRAM and preserve it across resets, and so it's viewed as a block device for the kernel, and so you can keep stuff there across reboots, and so then it's sort of getting into the soft reset mode. Not quite happy with the way it's integrated now, but it's sort of a step in the right direction. Some of that stuff, part of the instant on. Is just keep running all the time. And so you reset and reset the CPU, come back up, have your state there. The thing the downside of it is, well, if something got corrupted there, then if you never clear that, you have no way to ever clear that. And so on the Pocket PC iPaq, there's all these bizarre incantations. You hold these two buttons down and push the reset, and we just take the batteries out.
Hard reset, they would say?
No, I mean,
even though
for them, it isn't a hard reset. Right? I mean, it's a hard reset of the hardware at some level, but there's a bunch of software reset that they're not doing until you push the buttons and do that reset. So that's also sort of a little bit different than what we're used to. And I'm not expecting to follow instructions. And I'm happy to take email and obviously and stuff to talk about it, but it's just like when we go through this, and the first part is the serial cable. We still have to use serial cable to install stuff. Soon we'll have USB support, and there's actually a bootloader installed from CF for scripting thing that almost has interaction on the screen, so you don't need a serial port, but it's not quite stable yet. So I'd happy to take more questions or dive into other details, but I want to sort of follow close to what I prepared, and let it be driven more about what people are interested in. Yeah?
So one question I was wondering is, have you thought about how hard would it be to install or port Handheld Linux to the HP tablet?
Yeah, well, given that so we got 3 tablets, 2 of them are running Linux. It's a laptop for them. So we started by installing our favorite distribution, and interestingly enough, that actually worked. Except that none of the peripherals work. The card bus controller and the Ethernet controller and the wireless LAN are all newer than what's in Mandrake 9, which is what we installed. But they are all in 2.4.21 pre-4. And so we built that kernel. With the ACPI patches applied, because it is a ACPI BIOS. And so then that works. So it defines the card bus, defines the Ethernet. The Ethernet is ePro and QM or something, the mobile version. So much longer than our current notebooks. It's a transmeta CPU, so it's low power. The default memory configuration is too low, and it's really sluggish. At least under XP, we haven't really done enough in Linux to know how sluggish it is. If you do a Google search, you'll find somebody who's found the serial port that the touchscreen data comes in on, and so we poked it down a little bit. It looks kind of sensible. So we'll probably hook that up to TS-lib, which is what the X server, sort of the more standard way that the X server talks to the touchscreen these days, and so that'll be working. And so we want to do the same thing with rotate and resize and the render extension on that. I think the issue there will be getting the NVIDIA X server with those extensions built in, because that's what the graphics card is. The wireless LAN is an Atmel wireless LAN. So it's the same one that a lot of the USB things are using and the iPaq 5400 is using, but it's a PCI version, which the Linux driver is not really working. So that's going to take some work. But the PC card does work, and so you can plug an external wireless and there you go. So like what other devices does it have that it has USB, it actually has 3 USB ports, 2 USB 1s and a USB 2. The USB 2 goes out to the dock, which has the ID DVD. The BIOS actually will talk to the CD-ROM over USB, which I haven't seen before. But that all worked under the Linux installer, and the Linux installer will find keyboards over here. So if you plug the keyboard into the dock, you'll have the USB. But the little, that was great. The built-in keyboard is actually a standard keyboard port, and so PC keyboard can see that.
Okay. Do you think the handhelds.org would have that when you guys get that far?
I think that's a likely place for us to put the information. We kind of want to get to, I mean, one thing that would be good would be an ISO image, an installable image, because right now you get Linux installed and then you don't have any good way to get a kernel on that will talk to anything. I guess you could burn it on a CD and put it in a drive, but isn't that all? Or let's see what else. Oh yeah, a USB storage device would probably work. I tried one of those little USB disk key things, but it wasn't finding the files for some reason. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But I ended up going back to Windows. Dual booting with that was kind of interesting. Every time you go back to Windows reinstalls itself like a bootloader. So then you go back to reinstall this and get Lilo reinstalled or Rubber installed. We haven't. And we've tried the partition magic, boot magic, and I don't think we've conquered Windows in that boot situation. So if you want Windows, it's going to be tricky. If you don't want Windows, it's probably not going to be a problem once you get all the bits on it. So yeah, I think we'll put some stuff on handhelds.org. I think HP has a Linux website that we'll put the information on. The head of the Linux program office at HP, Jamey Hicks, is really interested in getting the information out there for all of our notebooks and tablets and stuff for how to run Linux on them. So there's support to do that, but it's not really out there yet. There was some, yeah, right. So there's information on the Atmel wireless. There's information on the touchscreen which needs some work. And in terms of the X server, so that carries over from handhelds. In terms of the stripping things down for size, we don't need to do that. And but GPE and or OPIE, those could be run there as full suites. If that makes sense. Might make sense. Yes.
A little bit off topic. Those little Compaq Win terminals that they're like the embedded Linux stuff. Familiar with those?
I'm not familiar with those.
I'm wondering where some of the internal documentation is, because they apparently tweaked the kernel a little bit.
Okay. If you send me an email and I can try and hook you up with somebody if you want to dive into that. But I don't know anything about it. Yes.
Can you say a few words about installing it on other Pocket PCs such as Casio from Casio?
Right. So I believe some of the Casio PM models have Linux ports to them. I really don't know anything about many of the early